Author's Press.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Book Buzz. I'm your host Nick, and bringing you the latest and greatest in the world of literary books. Today we have a very special guest, LaErtes Muldrow, who has written his book Evolve, an anthology of HORRA, THRILLA novellas. And we have him here today, and we're very excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
But I do want to say you have a really nice shirt on.
Thank you.
It's very cool.
Comfortable too.
Yeah, it looks very comfortable. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? And that shirt too. I assume that's from your country.
I'm from Hope, Arkansas.
Oh.
But I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
And right now I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about, just like your history and so you're from Hope, Arkansas, and you moved to San Francisco. How old were you when you moved? What prompted that move?
My mother wanted us to get out of Arkansas. So she moved us to Chicago, and that wasn't what she expected. So she relocated us to San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
San Francisco was a better life for us.
Yeah.
So from there, she managed to get a few jobs, and then we wound up moving to Berkeley, California.
Oh, no way. Nice.
So I grew up in Berkeley.
Love Berkeley.
Yeah, me too.
Great environment.
Good.
So are you still in San Francisco now, or did you end up moving again?
No, I'm not in San Francisco right now. I'm in a place called Spokane, Washington.
Okay. How are you liking that?
I do like it. I wanted to experience 4 seasons while I was overseas. I got a chance to feel 4 seasons, and I got a little bite for it. So
there you go.
Yeah, I wanted to find out if 4 seasons could influence my writing ability or not.
That's beautiful. I hope it does. Well, speaking of your writing, can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration behind the creation of, Evolve, an anthology of horror thriller novellas?
Evolve came from dreams, scary dreams at that. And my mother and I bought a house together. I needed to take care of her, but the house happened to be haunted.
Oh, whoa.
And I didn't know it, she didn't know it, and she didn't make it out alive. So as soon as she passed, I gave the house back to the people I bought it from, and I moved away.
Wow.
But in the meantime, I ran through a lot of different dreams in the house, and I was able to write them down as outlines before I sat back and started doing the whole stories.
Wow. So these all came from dreams. These all just were influenced by
dreams and actual events at the house.
Wow. Do you feel like the dreams were premonitions of stuff that was happening at the house, or perhaps correlated?
I think they were experiences of what had gone on in the house before I moved there. I later found out that the man that owned the house had killed his wife in the house.
Oh, God.
And in the basement of the house, he'd written on the walls, die, something die. And I could never paint over that. Every time I tried, it came through. I should have known something then, but I didn't. I just wanted a place to take care of my mother.
Wow. So what drew? Sorry, I got chills down my back. What drew you to the horror and thriller genres? Why do you find them so captivating as a writer?
I like the action in it. I like the special effects in it. I liked, and I still do. I admire how technology has gotten so that you can actually get so much out of a horror movie these days than back in the day. Wolfman and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow. And then so, can you tell me like what your favorite horror novel is, and maybe your favorite thriller novelist, or
I'm partial to Stephen King.
there you go. There you go. Yeah,
Dean Koontz.
nice.
Yeah. People know.
What's your favorite Stephen King book?
I haven't read it yet. But I've read some that I like, but I haven't read my favorite yet.
Oh, there you go. I love that answer. So how did you select the novellas that made it into the anthology? Like what criteria did you consider when selecting those?
Again, they were like dreams at first, and the dreams came to me, woke me up, and caused me to come into my office or wherever I was at and start writing them out. And the characters themselves came to me in those dreams.
Oh, wow.
They had a lot to say.
Yeah.
Yes, they really do. But I actually wanted to write something that I'd never seen before or never read before. And I managed to come out with these horror thrillers.
Wow.
So they're not something you've seen or read before.
Yeah. And, given that they're all, just dreams kind of coming from, I guess, just kind of from random, did you find any consistent, like, themes or subgenres that then get explored throughout the book?
No, everything is different. It's not a serial or anything like that. Everything is different. And everything in the book is part of experiences from my life.
Mm-hmm.
So each story has its own debut in my life at different segments of my life.
Oh.
That's why they're so different.
Yeah.
The last story is not something that is for the squeamish, though. It's about the entertainment industry, which I was part of for about 20 years. So it's quite an adventure.
Yeah.
Not for kids.
Yeah. Any kids watching, please, turn on.
Please. I'm not giving anything away.
So from all the stories in Evolve, do you have a personal favorite? And if so, why does it stand out so much?
Thermal. Thermal is my personal favorite because the house that my mother and I bought was on a street called Thermal Street. And that house is the scariest for me.
Yeah.
The saddest. What can I say? It's a monster. When I go back up to Oakland from time to time, I go by and visit that house to see how it's aged. And you can tell bad things have happened in that house and are still happening because the house kind of droops. Whoa, it's scary.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And do you know if it's currently occupied right now, or is it just abandoned?
I haven't been back up in that area for about 15 years. Last time I was up there, it was a stormy, rainy night and evening, actually, and the house had tarps all over the outside of it, and people were living in it, coming in and out of it. I don't know what the house was at the time, but people saw us looking at the house from across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And they came out and jumped in their car and chased us off.
Really?
So the house still didn't like me. I got away.
Yeah.
Moms didn't.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Off guard, huh?
Yeah. Well, in regards to, have you always been a horror writer, or has this kind of been your first tracking?
I first started out writing letters to my daughter. Her and I have been estranged for many, many years, and she had been brainwashed that I was like this or I was like that. And then once she finally met me, she realized I wasn't like what her grandparents had taught her about me. So we became friends eventually, but I wanted to send her letters to describe the type of person I really am.
Yeah.
And each letter turned into something longer and longer and longer until I wound up writing 3 novels for her.
Yeah.
They haven't been published yet, but I'm getting offers for it.
That's awesome. So how do you approach building suspense and creating a chilling atmosphere, or is that just something that just kind of happens naturally with the story?
It just kind of happens naturally. I let the characters. You might not understand this, but the characters speak to me. They actually tell me their story, and I'm just taking notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a strange thing. But once I finished the stories to Aisha, I decided to try fiction writing, but I didn't want to go into writing a novel. I wanted to write something like novellas, something smaller, 80 pages or so.
Yeah.
And after I finished Evolve, then I moved on to something more complicated.
Yeah.
And it seems to have worked.
And in regards to writing these stories, like you say, like you're kind of just writing notes. Do you ever feel like you put like your own input or perspective on it, or do you just try to be as neutral as possible?
Both. If I can keep it as neutral as possible, I do. Because I want to be truthful to the characters, to their story. And then I have to influence it with mine. Wouldn't be any fun otherwise.
Yeah. Well, are there any underlying messages or perhaps some kind of social commentary?
In every story.
Yeah?
In every one of my stories.
What's like a message that you would like to, if you can say it in like a sentence or two, to kind of summarize that?
Forgiveness, hope, faith, and love.
Sounds not what I expected from a horror book.
I know, but all of that's included in it. So
yeah,
that's why it's not just run and scare you. It's giving something to you. And I write it so that the people that are reading it can influence the storytelling themselves. So I don't just tell you a story, I write it so that you can see it, and then you can incorporate what you think and feel about the story in with it. Lightning.
That's really cool. So I guess I wanted to ask you, like, what did you hope readers will take away from this, from after reading this anthology? But it sounds like you kind of just summed it up there, right? Forgiveness, hope, love, and what was the last one? I'm sorry.
Good question. I drew a blank. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. People can just rewind 15 seconds for those watching. And then for yourself, what did you find the most fulfilling about writing these horror and like writing within the horror and thriller genres?
Wow, there's so much. There's so many elements of the truth in horror thriller that people have not been used to getting it before. So I'm just trying to express it to them my way. I don't read other people's stuff to try and get things from it, or watch a movie and try to say, oh, I can make that better. None of that. It's just what comes out of me. So I want to be honest to my readers and myself.
Yeah. Was that kind of a challenging experience for you to kind of?
That was the easy experience. That was because the characters told me.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of crazy, but characters do speak to you if you let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and what challenges did you find while you were writing this anthology, and how did you overcome them?
It gave me the chance to open up, and it showed me that I can write something other than letters to my daughter. And what it did is it brought back memories of when I was in high school, and I was the editor of the high school newspaper, and I used to do interviews and things like that of the talent at the school and concerts and things like that. So it popped back up to me after I was writing to Aisha.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it just grew and grew.
Mm-hmm.
Once I finished Evolve, an anthology of horror thriller novellas, I took on something harder, something deeper. And it's getting ground right now.
I thought so. Well, how do you balance developing these complex characters? I guess they're kind of simple but they're so complex by nature. But like, how do you balance developing these complex characters and maintaining like a gripping plot in your novellas?
I take notes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I originally start out with the individual characters, and I decide what I want them to do, where I want them to go, and where they're at right now. Then I create an arc from there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And so, what are your future plans as an author? I know you've mentioned this other project that you're working on, but can we expect them to start going anthologies from you in the future?
No, but from these anthologies, there's room for them to grow into their individual stories. But right now, I've just moved on to other sci-fi, adventure, fantasies, and then a lot of things that incorporate history. But they're about horror also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. So, what advice would you offer to, some new writers and beginners who are listening to this right now, based on your experience? Like, what would you suggest, or, any tips?
Yeah, don't give up. You're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to get a lot of head turns and people talking about, I don't read that trash. But unfortunately, just about everything you read is fiction anyway. So they have to accept that and keep going.
Well, you heard that? Just don't give up.
Don't give up.
Give up. Can you just, for anyone who's listening, if you'd like to purchase your book, can you please tell us where we can get that?
You can get it from Barnes & Noble. You can get it from Amazon, pretty much any brick and mortar store, and other online stores too.
Yeah, and I believe Authors Press too, correct?
Authors Press, exactly. Main source.
There you go.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience working with Authors Press?
Authors Press has been interesting. They've been supportive. They've done as much as they could to keep a tight schedule and get things accomplished on time. And certain things are just out of the way. You can't anticipate something happening, but you just have to make do with what has happened and keep going from there.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do that. So I appreciate it. I'm not upset with them.
It's a great tagline.
Yes.
You won't be upset with us.
No, I won't be.
Well, for those listening, this is LaErtes Muldrow.
That's right.
And we were talking about his book, Evolve, an anthology of horror and thriller novellas.
Horror, thriller, novellas.
Novellas. There you go.
And my first name is LaErtes, and my mother gave it to me at birth, and it means a father, a son, a brother, and a king.
That's a beautiful name.
It is. Thank you. I couldn't pronounce it for years, so it's too rough for me.
Yeah. Did you have like a nickname when you were
Lee?
Oh, Lee.
Just like I told you. People couldn't pronounce my name, so even teachers, even now, people can't pronounce my name. Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, I think it's a beautiful name.
I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. I had to grow into it.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much sums up, I mean, all of the questions that I had. Do you have any last comments you'd like to make to anyone listening out there?
I have two other books available.
Okay.
One of them is called Cover Up. That's an adventure fantasy. And the other one is called Manawadon.
Maladon.
Manawadon is about a ghost slave ship that disappears in the Bermuda Triangle and then returns in the 21st century in San Francisco on Halloween night. Queen's Ball.
No way.
It's wild.
Oh, wow.
But there's a lot of history in it too. So I don't let people get away without getting a little history lesson too.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And then that one, was that one based, was that like inspired by like some story that you might have heard or something? Or was that just?
That was just out of my mind. Truly out of my mind.
That's good. No, it sounds very exciting.
Yes,
yeah.
It's a good story. It's a very good story. Cover Up is a good story too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more what Cover Up's about?
Cover Up is about this athlete who became the world's fastest man. And in celebration, him and his parents went and got on their Learjet to come back to America. They were in Hawaii at the Olympics there. And the jet crashed into the ocean. His parents died in the crash, and he became a paraplegic in the crash.
Wow.
But his parents were scientists, and they were up to something that would change the world. Nobody knew what they were up to but them.
Oh, interesting.
Once he found out what it was, then it changed his life too. He found out that he could move again. He could walk and run again. But there's so much more in it than that. That's the simplified version there.
Oh, no, that sounds awesome. That sounds like, yeah, I feel like all your stories have so many layers and you know, intricacy and like cool like plot twists and stuff. That's very interesting.
Thank you. Somebody asked me once, they said, well, how do you tie all of these together?
Yeah.
And I told them, I don't know, it just happens. Because I have so many threads floating around, but by the end of the story, they're all tied together.
Awesome.
And exciting.
Very great, very great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, for those listening, once again, this was LaErtes Muldrow.
That's right.
His book Evolve, an anthology of horror and thriller, horror/thriller novellas.
Horror/thriller.
Thriller novellas. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
Well, no, have a good day. And for those listening and watching, you know, you can get his book over on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and of course, Authors Press. Thank you once again, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks for that. Okay.